Good morning, boys and girls. Hello. Welcome back to your scientific class with Miss Shara. Let us start by reading our work plan for today. Chunking, discussion, life lesson, and scientific activity. Remember, I give my heart to you, you share your heart to others. Have you ever wondered what is the hierarchy of life? We are going to learn that today. Life starts with chemical elements, which bound together to form cells. The human body parts are not all solid structures. They are made up of millions of tiny building blocks called cells. Just like any other Lego blocks, a human individual cells does not make much, but if you have a lot of pieces to put together, you can build anything you like. Cells, which are grouped together to form tissues, which group together to form different organs. Every individual may look differently, but the inside body parts share identical components. They are composed of major internal organs that can be easily recognized, such as shape, size, functions, and location as well. Organs work together to create body systems with different functions as well. Each internal organ of the body has its own parts and functions and serves its own importance as it is being used in daily basis. These make the human body. Have you ever wondered how you are able to do things easily? How you are able to go from one place to another? And where you get all the energy you use to do all these things? In our lesson, you will learn about the fascinating facts your body can do and how it works. Your body is made up of different organ systems, a complex, highly organized structures made up of unique cells that work together as one unit. An organ, which is a collection of millions of cells grouped together to perform a single function in our body. It is primarily responsible in performing the functions and actions of the body. Now let's look at this picture. This is a personal computer system. People use computers every day at work, at school, and at home. Computers are used in factories to control how things are made and in offices to keep records. People also use computers for sending email, writing reports, shopping, banking, listening to music, and playing games. A computer is a machine that accepts data as input and processes that data using programs and outputs that process data as information. Now, why are we talking about computers? And since we are talking about human body, so the first major organs that we are going to talk about is similar to a personal computer. Okay, so we are talking about human body. We are going to talk about our body part by part. Now first, we are going to get the part of the computer that is similar to the part of the body that we are going to talk about today. So we are going to get the CPU or Central Processing Unit of the computer. And now what is our Central Processing Unit of our body? It is called our brain. Throughout history, people have compared the brain to different inventions. In the past, the brain has been said to be like a water clock and a telephone switchboard. These days, the favorite invention that the brain is compared to is a computer. Some people use this comparison to say that the computer is better than the brain. Some people say that the comparison shows that the brain is better than the computer. Perhaps it is best to say that the brain is better at doing some jobs and the computer is better at doing other jobs. Let's talk about 10 similarities between a CPU or a computer from a brain. So first, we have use electrical signals to send messages. So they both use electrical signals to send messages. Second, it transmits information. So both of them transmit information. Both have a memory that can grow. Both can adapt and learn. And both have evolved over time. Both of them can do math and other logical tasks, though computer is faster at doing logical things and computation. However, the brain is better at interpreting the outside world and coming up with new ideas. The brain is capable of imagination. Both of them can be damaged. Both of them can change and be modified. Both of them need energy. And both brains and computers are studied by scientists. Scientists understand how computers work. There are thousands of neuroscientists studying the brain. So the people that studies the brain is called neuroscientist or neurologist. Nevertheless, there is still much more to learn about the brain. So today, let's talk about the brain. So let me read our learning targets for today. I can describe the main parts and functions of the brain and heart. I can communicate that the major organs work together to make the body function properly. Let us start with the brain. The brain or the encephalon is possibly the most complex organ to examine within the human body. Although only weighing approximately 1.3 kg in the average adult, all behaviors, actions, thoughts, and feelings originate from billions of neural networks interacting to create what we recognize as human behavior. Now let's take a peek of what is inside our human brain. It is composed of cerebrum and cerebral cortex. The cerebrum is the uppermost part of the brain. The cerebrum itself contains the major lobes of the brain and is responsible for receiving and giving meaning to information from the sense organs as well as controlling the body. It contains two hemispheres split by a central fissures. Left and right hemispheres. Left hemisphere for most people is the dominant hemisphere. It is responsible for production of language, mathematical ability, and problem solving and logic. Right hemisphere thought to be responsible for creativity and spatial ability. The cerebral cortex is the outer covering of the cerebrum, the layer of the brain often referred to as gray matter. The cerebral cortex of the brain is divided into four lobes, responsible for distinct functions such as frontal, for motor cortex, parietal, for sensory cortex, occipital, for visual cortex, and temporal, auditory cortex. The frontal lobe is located in the front of both cerebral hemispheres. The frontal lobes are the largest lobes of the brain. The frontal lobes are also thought to be involved in complex functionings on the brain, including personality, judgment, insight, reasoning, problem solving, abstract thinking, and self-evaluation. It is termed executive functions. The frontal lobe also has functions in working memory, especially the ability to plan and initiate activity. parietal lobe or somatosensory cortex, which receives general sensory information and initial receptions such as touch, pain, and temperature. The other main role of the parietal lobes are complex aspects of spatial orientation and perceptions and the comprehension of language functions, and the ability to recognize objects by touch, calculate, write, recognize fingers of opposite hands, and organize spatial directions. Damage to these areas produces the neglect of entire spaces of sensory information. For example, only eating from one side of a plate and other sensory problems. Temporal lobe. It is involved in receiving and processing auditory information, higher order visual information, complex aspects of memory, language, and comprehension of language, abstract thought and judgment, and control of written and verbal language skill. Last is occipital lobe, the primary visual cortex, which receives raw sensory information from the retina, processes information on color, objects, and facial recognition, and is also involved in the perceiving motion. This allows for the transmission of information between the two hemispheres. Damage to the visual cortex causes cortical blindness. The next major internal organs that we are going to talk about is the heart. Amazing facts about the human heart. The heart is about the same size as your fist. An adult heart pumps 7,500 liters of blood daily. The heart beats on average 70 times per minute, 4,200 beats per hour, 100,000 beats per day, 365 million beats per year, 30 billion beats in an average lifetime of 8 years. Wow, isn't that amazing? Now let's look at the inside of the human heart. The heart is an involuntary muscle. Its main function is to pump blood through the blood vessels by repeated rhythmic contractions. The human heart averages 100,000 beats daily. With each beat, your heart fills with blood. Then it contracts to pump the blood through the body. The heart is the most important muscle in the body. You cannot live without a heart. The heart is really a pump or two pumps in one. The right side receives blood from the body and pumps it to the lungs. The left side does the opposite. It receives blood from the lungs and pumps it around the human body. The human heart is a hollow muscular organ located in the chest cavity between the lungs. It takes about 20 seconds to pump blood to every cell in your body. Blood is cleaned in the kidneys. If you lined up all the blood vessels in your body, end to end, they would wrap around the earth twice. Now let's look at the different parts of the human heart. We have superior vena cava, right atrium, right ventricle, aorta, left atrium, left ventricle. The atria, ventricles, and valves work together to pump blood. The atria filled with blood, then pump into the ventricles. The ventricles pump the blood out of the heart. The heart uses a network of tubes to get blood throughout the body. These tubes are called blood vessels. The blood vessels that carry the fresh blood away from the heart are called arteries. The ones that carry the blood that contains waste back to the heart are the veins. So we have two blood vessels. We have superior vena cava, or the major veins of the body. And then we have the aorta, or the major artery of the body. The heart has four different hollow areas called chambers. So chambers of human heart. Each chamber is separated by a valve, which is a fluff of tissue that opens and closes to keep blood flowing in the right directions. The two chambers on top are called the atria. The atria are the chambers that filled with blood. So right atrium, left atrium. The two chambers on the bottom are called the ventricles. They pump the blood out of the heart, first to the lungs and later to the rest of the body. So we have the right ventricle and the left ventricle. The septum is a thick wall of muscle that separates the two sets of chambers. It separates the left and right sides of the heart. So again, we have the right atrium and the left atrium divided by a septum. It receives blood returning to the heart from the body. So right ventricle and left ventricle separated by a septum. It pumps blood from the heart to the body. The heart is composed of cardiac muscles that enables the heart to contract and allows it to beat. It has four main layers. So these are the heart wall. The first one is the epicardium. It is the outer layer of the heart. Next is the pericardium. Look at where the arrow is pointing. This is the double-walled sac containing the heart and the roots of the great vessels. Next is the myocardium. It is the muscular middle layer wall of the heart. The fourth one is the endocardium. It is the inner layer of the heart that is continuous with the inner lining of blood vessels. Do you know that our hearts make sounds? We can listen to our hearts. So listen to your heart. Doctors use various methods to check your heart. They use the stethoscope. It is commonly used to hear your heartbeat. And then we have the sphygmomanometer. It measures your blood pressures that your heart exerts with each contraction of the ventricles. When the doctor uses the stethoscope to listen to your heart, there are two sounds associated with the heart. The sequence of events for every one beat. So love-dub, that is one beat. The love sound happens when the blood hits bulbs between the atria and ventricles. The dub sound happens when the blood hits the aortic and pulmonic bulbs that close up as the heart relaxes to fill the blood for the next beat. The healthy heart makes a love-dub sound which comes from the bulbs shutting inside the heart. Love-dub, love-dub, love-dub. The blood in our bodies is used over and over again. Its movement through the heart and around the bodies is called circulation and can be viewed as a cycle. So this is what we call the cardiac cycle. Beginning at the left side of your heart, fresh, clean oxygen-rich blood is pumped around our bodies. The cells throughout our bodies take the oxygen from the blood and use it as a fuel to work and grow. The cells create carbon dioxide and other waste that must be removed to keep the cells healthy. The blood is responsible for picking up the waste, delivering it to the kidneys where except for the carbon dioxide, it is removed from the body. So there is two phases in the cardiac cycle. We call it as diastole phase or the dub. This is when the atria and ventricle are relaxed and blood flows into the atria and ventricle. The next phase is systole phase, love. This is when the ventricle contracts, sending blood to the rest of the body. The blood, with its loads of carbon dioxide, returns to the right side of the heart. The right side of the heart pumps the blood to the lungs to get rid of the carbon dioxide and to pick up fresh oxygen. The oxygen-rich blood goes back to the left side of the heart and is then pumped around the body to complete the cycle. This all happens in less than a minute. If we don't have a stethoscope to listen to our heart, we can take the pulse, or you can check it using your pulse. You can feel your heart beating in several different areas of the body. The most common place used is the wrist, just below your thumb. You'll know that you pound your pulse when you can feel a small beat under your skin. Each beat is caused by the contraction of your heart. So how else can we check our heart? Doctors have many ways of testing the health of your heart. It can also be used to watch heart attack victims. It allows doctors to look and help determine any damages from our heart. Right? So we have techno tools, an electrocardiograph that is used to check the regularity of your heartbeat and your heart rate. Keep your heart in shape. Most children are born with a healthy heart. Just like you need to exercise your leg and arm muscles, you need to exercise your heart muscles. At least 15 to 20 minutes of exercise each day will give your heart a good workout. Remember to eat a variety of healthy foods, avoiding a lot of fatty foods or junk foods. Stay away from smoking. Heart is very important. Without the heart, we cannot live. We know now how to keep our heart in shape. The heart is very important and is therefore carefully protected. The ribs protects the heart from being crushed or bumped, thus allowing the heart to beat freely without external pressure. Physically, the ribs is guarding our heart inside our body. But we also need to guard our heart emotionally because, based on Proverbs chapter 4 verse 23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. So it's not only the blood that flows from the heart in and out, also our actions. Everything that flows or everything that we do comes from our hearts. So, teacher, from what are we going to guard our hearts emotionally? From bad thoughts, lies, jealousy, right? Greed, laziness, bad languages. So those are the things that we need to protect our hearts from. We need to close our hearts from those kinds of aliens or invaders. We need to keep it out from our hearts. We need to guard our hearts. How are we going to do that? We need to keep our purity, peace, truth, goodness. So we have to use justice, honesty, patience, and most of all, we have to have love in our heart. This is Miss Shara saying thank you. Another wonderful learnings from our scientific class. More exciting adventures will follow. We are going to look inside major internal organs. So see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye. I love you.